Welcome to From Poe's Porch, everybody. We'll be starting the program now. My name is Charlie Vasquez. I'm director of the Bronx Writers Center at the Bronx Council on the Arts, and we're very pleased to announce this new collaboration with the Bronx Council Historical Society through the hard work of historian Angel Hernandez, who's currently getting the live streaming camera up and moving so folks can join us virtually wherever they may be. Just very quickly, if you need to use any restrooms, some housekeeping, that is the Poe Park Visitor Center. On the far side, on the other side, there are public restrooms, okay? And do visit the Visitor Center. We'll be convening there at 1:30 for some poetry workshops that will be facilitated by today's featured poets. What else? This program, or this initiative, rather, was started for a number of reasons. The first of all is to create more awareness about Bronx history through the arts. So we are beginning with hosting contemporary poets and drawing parallels to the life and hard work of Edgar Allan Poe, who was once a resident of when this was Fordham Village in the 1840s. And who wrote very famous works in this house when it was located across the street, across the street from the library over there somewhere. So Angel Hernandez will be telling you a little bit about that later. But this is how we will go. We will be hosting our three poets, and then at 1:30 we will convene. Then we'll have free tours of the cottage, so stick around to look at the cottage in case you haven't. Normally there's a small fee, but the Historical Society is waiving that today. And then we'll be convening in the Poe Park Visitor Center close to 1:30 for some live action poetry workshops that you can participate in, okay? Today's first featured poet is Skye Cabrera. Skye Cabrera is from the Bronx and has performed since 2009 at venues and reading series such as the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, at the Brooklyn Historical Society, the Bronx Museum of the Arts, Apartment 78, Hispanic Panic, and others. She's the author of 2 books of poetry, Music for Caterpillars in 2011, and most recently, Meet Me at the Cube, 2016. Her spoken word video, When a Woman Speaks, was featured on Madonna's Art for Freedom project in 2013. Cabrera's work reflects the inner city queer experience, identity, purpose, angst, and love. So please, some applause for the first poet, Skye Cabrera.
Hello. So we're gonna go on a little journey for 20 minutes. And when we talk about changing the world, revolution, I think it starts with us. So I like to write about what's going on with our own demons. And this first piece is about anorexia, which is something that I feel we should speak about, especially as Latinos, which seems to be a taboo subject. She'll call it spiritual or fasting, and excited the pronunciation of her jawline after 2 weeks of detoxification or starving. If she can't attain a master's degree, she'll attain the approval of the patriarchy by be skinny. This will become her new mantra. Be skinny, because Coco Chanel said there's nothing that feels better than being thin. And she would love to feel anything other than the fat of the flat of her arms against her ribs in the middle of July. She wants to be a hanger, fragile as her sensitivity. Her limbs as limp as the willow tree. She wants to fit into his palms easily like the other woman because she doesn't feel like the lightning her thunder thighs suggest. Control, so she doesn't eat because her emotions are already too heavy. But this pain is not as ugly and obvious as razor blades. I tell her she is beautiful, an earthquake, a movement, that her body just cannot encompass all of the beauty that she is. But she says that fasting, that not eating, gives her some sense of clarity. She justifies it by saying things like, Jesus fasted for 40 days. The children in Africa don't eat, so why should she? She says things like, we are obsessed with numerology, GPA, bank account, credit scores, and our likes on Instagram. She remembers when her father used to touch her density and still feed her happy meals when he couldn't be there or give his time. And her boyfriend won't even acknowledge her infections because he'll be on Kim Kardashian's timeline looking at her derriere. Because apparently her beauty is in his ideals that he learned about in books or magazines. And she'll notice everything. She'll notice how he doesn't notice her. And she'll cry within fitting rooms because her Gap jeans don't fit around her mother's jeans. And she'll start to hate those jeans too. And that's how the disease starts. And sometimes she'll want to fly out of the cage that is her body. Out of the cage that is her body down into the Brooklyn Bridge. And on those days, more than any other days, I'll tell her that stretch marks are just an example that her beauty is far too large for even her body. And I'll kiss her skin, my lips, like cocoa butter on all of her insecurities. You are beautiful. You are beautiful. Woo! So everybody knows what's going on with like water. Do we all drink water? I should definitely drink more water, but so there was a BP oil spill. Does anyone remember this back in like? And water is the most loyal lover that you will ever have. Water has never left your side since the beginning. That's not my poem. We're gonna get into it back. This is a love letter to water. And there is some humor in it. Because sometimes during tragedy we have to have a little bit of humor. But there's nothing funny about what's going on right now in the earth. Water. Never once has she left your periphery. And I've left her on countless dinner tables desolate, and still she's 75% integrated into me. And even when I attempt to suppress the depths of all my emotions, she is my speech when I cannot speak. Excretes from my pupils a sense of kiss down my cheek as my Saint Veronica cleansing me with ever undying devotion. This woman fucking sweats me. Sweats me on days when I literally run to seep out of the crust that is my skin. She follows me along highways, tri-state, Bronx with the blues. She even distills herself within glass bottles so I may drink of her mystery and dance with the demons that linger. Somewhere she's in a chalice of absinthe, where men will toy with death or at least attempt to kiss the tip of its precipice. Water will overflow in this man's cup, and in any attempts to pacify this man's emptiness, she enamors me, drenching my lips with pleasure. On Sunday afternoons, when me and my love is tightly close to shade, she seeks down my chin, casting skin, adoration of anatomy and desire condensed together. Water has many names, she's so clever. She assisted in the birth that wove my mother. She sprung from my daddy past exclamation points of, oh no, stop. This isn't love, it's far too soon. She created him and her even when they started to wetter. She nursed me for 9 months and gave birth to these hands that now gift her this love letter. She demonstrated human will when my father gripped me on her shoulders to safe haven me from Long Island violent waves. She was the #1 reason me and my abuela Manuela spent some of the sweetest of her last days before cancer took her away. It was Elvis Presley tuned to PB&J at Orchard Beach. Our favorite spot was Section 8. And I laid into her until my fingers and prose wound. She was a saltilic by wounds I couldn't wait for July release. Was the backdrop setting to my favorite Disney movie in 2nd grade. Home to Poseidon, Clash of the Titans, and yes, Ariel from The Little Mermaid. And in textbooks I read as conquistadors raped the land along the bridge that was her back. In India she stands still. Hare Krishna, where do you cleanse of your sins when they turn the waters black? They turn the waters black. And I never noticed her before, just passed by her in the bodega aisles, never really acknowledging her natural substance. Just puppeteering her usage. Because right now, someone in Missouri might even be using her to spit at the face of his wife to portray to her that she is useless, and this is how we use her. Water, but she is vapor. Breath, life, water, vapor, breath, life. Thank you. So, do we have any writers here? Raise your hands. Even if you write status messages that are like really, that get a lot of likes, you're probably a writer. Most of us are writers and don't even know it. And we're having a workshop at 1:30. So if this is something you want to take part of, you definitely should, because writing saved my life. Writing kept me out of the streets, kept me out of drugs, kept me away from a lot of things. And I think it's one of the greatest gifts that I was given, the gift of writing. So, this is called Ars Poetica. Is everyone following me? You can hear me really well in the back. And this is what writing means for me. It is exorcism. It is horde of emotion in the body seeking alleluia in a sigh. For the man on the N train who could not fathom how to speak freedom into his lungs, this is to exhale for him. If you shall take this burden, this cross to bury in your bosom or bear along the canvas that is your tongue, this is written on our collarbones like a hanger, an anchor, holding up our flesh and bone and sinew, elevated heels on the soapbox with every amplification of word. For the girl who was 45 seconds away from subscribing to a life whose final chapters may have been made gray by the cold crash of the Fifth Avenue pavement, this is the balcony where Juliet found her before the upheaval of logic. It's the embers under our fingernails igniting spark between margins or beyond them. It's the sweet sound of lead upon oceans of white, dancing between what is known or what may never be known in the folded up secretive pages you composed in your 4th grade marble composition notebooks. It is a quiet that haunts on October sunsets. It is a squeak of the skeleton that is your bed frame upon which your once lover lay. This is a declaration of dependence to the Morse code in the silence. This is the unsung song in the night of the paupers and the prostitutes. And be you a preacher, a beacon of truth, of everything but the truth. But be this your God, because there is no caste system in the art of being birthed into the sacrament that is word. The poet is not a poet. The poet is born. And this is you breathing. Thank you. God, I feel like I'm so intense today. I feel like this. I wish I had a funny poem or something. But no, actually, I'm very grateful to be here. Edgar Allan Poe had a lot of demons, and I'm pretty sure that's why his work is so amazing, right? So I'm gonna read. By the way, one of the ways that you can be an activist in life is to be yourself. I always say that just being born, just being who you are loyally and faithfully to that person that you are is a form of activism. And I am queer. Since the day that I was born, I am who I am freely, and I feel like that is what is going to shift the world. You just being yourself completely. No apologies for who you are. It's called Tomboys, because it's fun to just It's fun to go against what society may call the norm for a woman. You know, what constitutes a woman, what constitutes a man. We are 23 chromosomes of our father and 23 of our mother. I don't know if we think about that, but it makes for a very unique experience if you allow it to be. I am National Coming Out Day. I am the walking gay flag. I am the colors of the wind. I am the 1980s product of Madonna and Boy George. I am Juan Gabriel, I am Gia, I am when Chavela Vargas and Frida Kahlo had an affair. I am Angelina Jolie. In the 90s inspired me to actually be gay. I am masculine and feminine. I am butch, queen. I am Paris is burning. I am Vogue. I am Vogue. I am Audre Lorde. I am all of the women who hide behind these closets. I take them out. I take them out. I speak for them. I am men's jeans and eyeliner. I am beautiful. I am strong. I am much more than that. This is Tomboys Part 2 because I'll explain later. You see I'm hard, difficult to define. You see the extra room in my jeans, the fresh fade from the barber shop from 46th Street in Queens. Stoic disposition as I hold her on the inside of the sidewalk. Unpolished nails. Obscure supple moons hiding behind wool's clothing to avoid the tongue of strange men. You noticed my collars and father's jawline. A warning to you, but a blessing to me. Assume I am the man in the relationship. Assume I wish for 7 inches of extra flesh. Assume I must have not found the right man, or I was hurt before, raped before. But you cannot shape me. I am as vast as the sky, as ample as the ocean, and you will hear no muscle in my most vulnerable tone when I declare to you that I am a woman. So you can hold the door for me too, even in my baggiest jeans. Gentle yourself. I am not your bro. I too can be a mother, daughter, creator of life, so take care of me like I am the last drop of water in Somalia. Know that I am strong and fragile, a woman with or without the dress. 46, 23 chromosomes of he, 23 of she, perfectly wrapped in this being you see stand before you, a complete woman. Thank you. I'm going. How much? 5 minutes. I really didn't have anything planned, but let me freestyle what's on my mind. Alright. It's in Spanish. My mind is speaking in Spanish right now. Yo quisiera estar debajo de una mata de coco en la playa en Santo Domingo con mi India bella mirando sus ojos. Ella me dice que me quiere llevar para México, pero veo el país entero en sus ojos. Quisiera escuchar el hombre pedir si quiero aguacate o pescado frito. Quisiera ir a la casa de mi abuela ahora para tomarme un cafecito. A veces pienso, bueno, a veces no pienso mucho. Yo no pienso, en verdad, yo solamente siento, pienso con mi corazón. Y eso es todo, que, like, this is all I have to say, even though I have 5 minutes. But no, let me read another poem. Dear men, I wrote this for men. Because men need to know that they're beautiful. We need to raise our men as if we need to raise our young boys the way we raise young women. There should be no difference between the way we raise our children. These are just opinions, not demands. Dear men, all the men here, and your family and everyone out there who's listening to me. You're beautiful. Don't let them make you think you have to flinch when you hear such a word. You must remember you came from the poetry in Genesis, the curve in God's wrist, pure architecture. Michelangelo had a fondness for you on celestial ceilings. You are art, and art is equally potent as it is appealing. So you don't have to react to tenderness with a fist, not mockery but flattery. We know what you are capable of, men. We have seen it in skyscrapers as high as Olympus. We have heard it in stories when no was not enough. On the skin of the unwilling. But can you live from the inside out? There is beautiful in things beyond what you think make you a man. Tell us a different story we are begging to hear. That for you. That last one.
Thank you very much. Please give Skye Cabrera a round of applause. Thank you everyone for coming. My name is Angel Hernandez. I am Director of Programs and External Relations for the Bronx County Historical Society. Thanks for coming out. I know it's a little chilly, but this is a great event. Something like this hasn't happened at Poe Cottage for many years. Now, we all know who Edgar Allan Poe was. You know, he was one of America's best writers. He lived here for the last years of his life, from 1846 to 1849. Here, he wrote some of his best stuff. He wrote The Cask of Amontillado here. He wrote The Bells. He wrote Annabel Lee. He also wrote a story called Landor's Cottage, and he's actually describing how the Bronx looked to him in 1846. This wasn't the Bronx. This was a small village called Fordham, located in Westchester County. The original location of this house was just behind us on 192nd Street on the east side of East Kingsbridge Road. Well, the reason why Poe moved out here was to save his wife, Virginia, from dying of tuberculosis. Unfortunately, she did not survive. She died in this house anyway, just a year later. But this is when Edgar Allan Poe's works was inspired by that melancholy he was feeling and that sadness watching his young wife die. So this is where I suspect he wrote Annabel Lee. So the reason why we're doing this today, me and Charlie from the Bronx Council of the Arts, is that a lot of the stuff that Edgar Allan Poe wrote about still relates to us today in the Bronx. Disease affected Poe a lot. Tuberculosis killed his mom, killed his wife, killed some other relatives of his. He dealt with poverty. The house is located in one of the most impoverished neighborhoods in the Bronx. So there's a lot of connection with Edgar Allan Poe here, and this is why we decided to have this public program series where poets, Bronx poets, or New York City poets can use the porch as a stage. So that's why we're doing this today. Edgar Allan Poe's Cottage belongs to the community. The Bronx County Historical Society has been running it since 1975. And thank you. And we're looking forward to having and implementing more of these public programs for the year of 2017. So be on the lookout for that. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. Edgar Allan Poe is on Twitter as well. He is one of our famous Bronxites, and we're very lucky to have his house after so many years. So without further ado, let me introduce our next poet. Carlos Manuel Riveras is a Puerto Rican poet and performer, actor, and professor of Spanish at CUNY's Bronx Community College. Woo! He won first prize in the international contest of the Puerto Rican Institute for Culture in 2013 for his essay Para que no se nos olvides, ensayos de integración sobre un teatro puertorriqueño marginal. In English, so we don't forget, essays of interpretation of Puerto Rican marginal theater. He's performed for over 30 years in the United States, his native Puerto Rico, and beyond, earning a PhD in Latin American literature and Hispanic Caribbean at Arizona State University. His publications include popular theater, The New Tour Theater of America by Pedro Santaliz, and as well as a CD, Así Mi Nación. Please, everyone, put your hands together for Mr. Carlos Manuel Rivera. he's making his entrance. Well, his exit, actually.
Sharpening the guaguancó, alcapurria como yo, with the salsas coming on. With the salsas coming on, alcapurria como yo, alcapurria como yo. Transformando el guaguancó, alcapurria como yo. I am coming on with measures of verses. Tampoco with structures or rhythms. My poetic joins with Pedro, Mikey, Bimbo, Tato, Miguel. My long story as a Puerto Rican, Nuyorican, and post-Puerto Rican American. Since the gringos' invasion to Puerto Rico, my journey has been identity, nation, and affirmation. My journey also has been an accumulation of souls. Ñame, yuca, plátano, yautía, moviendo a las masas, avoiding disintegration and recovering la historia. This historia you minimize gringos. It's easy to say these pigs do not belong here because their English is broken. These people have a different color, a different flavor, a different accent. Yes, flavor with all types, all language, all abolengos. One day, when the decision to write and to speak out was done, we settled our angry misery obituary in your historia. La poética es de la alcapurria. Mixed with verduras fritas con manteca. Sure, it's not la manteca you are thinking about. But let me tell you something, we are a community. We have to spread you more than this historia. Sí, with alcapurria, pasteles, and drinking coquito. A poetic above, constructing, complaining, separating our sorrow, pains, and ambiguities. A poetic of human peace. When all were open, we stood up and dwelled a place. Un Nuyorican Poet Cafe, where we join with Pedro, Mikey, Bimbo, Tato, Miguel, where we join cantos, beats, readings, poetry. A poetic with relation con el mundo. A poetic who deletes root to be with you. A poetic of nonsense as you like rumba, as you like to dance salsa. A poetic is bringing you sentiment for surviving, for fun, for working, for raising a wealthy family as you have done yours. A poetic based in icons, how mi abuela me contó. Icons to reveal something to my children, to reveal something to my generation, to reveal something to the generation of my grandson. To have a Puerto Rico that I never see. Un Puerto Rico de imaginación. Un Puerto Rico who believe tomorrow será mejor. Un Puerto Rico who create from here su libertad. My freedom is your freedom. My fraternity is your fraternity. My equality is your equality. A free Puerto Rico as Washington and Jefferson dreamed for having your America. Land us opportunity, but division, poverty, hunger. A land forever free and ascended. How my paradise island Puerto Rico is, and America doesn't want. Chapening de guaguancó, chapening de guaguancó. Alcapurriaco no yo, transformando el guaguancó, transformando el guaguancó. Alcapurria como yo, transformando el guaguancó. With the salsas coming on, with the salsas coming on, transformando el guaguancó. La poética es de la alcapurria. Buenas tardes, thank you for coming. My second poem is dedicated to people who belong here. Also, is to my brothers and sisters, the Mexican. Y dice así. Listen, mi cuate, vámonos al fuegote. Listen, mi cuate, vámonos al fuegote. Listen, mi cuate, vámonos al fuegote. My story is indio, taíno, no me chingues, dicen la Ana. Un güey que allá salió por el 16 de Boiquén a Camagüey, fue allá por la Juana years ago. Esa Cuba, óyeme, no fiel, se empanfiló con la vaca. Veracruz, Aztlán, Nuyorican, Veracruz, Aztlán, Nuyorican, tatara, Boriquén. Ellos hicieron U-turn. I am barbarian, ¿y qué? Listen, mi cuate, vámonos al fuegote. Listen, mi cuate, vámonos al fuegote. Busca algo tiro y que pongan tus moles. De la miseria se nos va con pozole. Por eso mismo que yo cruzo los bordes. La marcha es ready para sacar opresores. Aquí la junta ya comprende el toque. Y la enchilada se la traga el norte. La identidad no es luz sin coyote. Listen, mi cuate, vámonos al fuegote. Listen, mi cuate, vámonos al fuegote. Don't be afraid, my web va con tacones. La pucha tiene respond for you something. Salarios buenos hacen falta entonces. Si no me crees, yo with me en el 12. Y así respetes a mi people gorriones. Y así respetes a mi people gorriones. Listen, mi cuate, vámonos al fuegote. Listen, mi cuate, vámonos al fuegote. Mezcal con tiros. Thank you. If you don't understand Spanish, I recommend, like I did, I learned English. Start to learn Spanish also. If not, Take a dictionary. Do something. It's very easy to be monolingual. Do it. It's hard. The third poem is dedicated to one of the most important Nuyorican poet icons. If to the master, the father, the priest, the reverendo y reverend Pedro Pietri. Warning. My citizen shit. I'm sorry. Is US. But no assimilated. My root is Indian, African, post-Asian, and non-white American. I am Pedro Pietri character. I am Pedro Pietri character. I am Pedro Pietri character. I am Pedro Pietri character from the lada. Aislado, de lado, here, there, see my island moving here, y es lo bueno que mixea. I am Pedro Pietri character, I am Pedro Pietri character, mira de aquí, para allá, de acá, para allá, facing here, broken there, floating island, mira, tú apestas. I am Pedro Pietri character. I am Pedro Pietri character. A minister with briefcase. Case. Queso. Cheese. Photo. Roto. Spanish broken here. English open there. Spanish broken here. English open there. I swear. Júralo. I swear, júralo, mira, lo juro, huracán, acá dan ganas de I swear. Etaínos, broken here, and the Spanish, broken there, and the gringo, sorry, fucking here, and the melting pot, don't believe it, and the melting pot, no lo creas, segregation. I am Pedro Pietri character. I am Pedro Pietri character. Mira de aquí, para allá, de acá, para allá. Facing here, broken there, floating island. Mira, tú apestas. I am Pedro Pietri character. I am Pedro Pietri character. I am Pedro Pietri character. Sueño, América. Broken, token, no, I see my nation. Spanish broken here, English open there, Spanish broken here, English open there. I swear, júralo, I swear, júralo. Lo juratan, acá dan ganas de I swear. The Taínos broken here, and the Spanish broken there, and the gringo, sorry, fucking here, and the melting pot, don't believe it, and the melting pot, no lo creas. I am Pedro Pietri character. I am Pedro Pietri character, no a poet, but cool. Since cool with condones, sin colones, so condones everywhere. I am Pedro Pietri character. 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 Etaíno, broken there. Eboricua, broken here. Eboricua, pa' que sepas. Eboricua, I am here. Un boricua, donde quiera. I am Pedro Pietri character. Thank you. Thank you for coming. It was my last poem. And enjoy the afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Let's give Carlos a round of applause one more time. So unfortunately, our third poet, she wasn't able to make it, unfortunately. However, Charlie himself, as soon as he opens that door, he's going to read us some of Poe's works that were done in the cottage. So let me introduce Charlie. Charlie Vasquez is the author of novels, short stories, and poetry. He is director of the Bronx Writers Center and served as New York City's coordinator for Puerto Rico's Festivals de la Palabra, an international literary festival for 4 years. He lives in the Bronx, where he was born and raised, and has finished his third novel and second short story collection. Please, everyone, put your hands together for Mr. Charlie Vasquez. Hopefully he'll use his exquisite reading voice.
Thank you, Angel. Yes, unfortunately, our Johnny Rose is stranded in Castle Hill. She was going to jump in a cab, but I didn't want to keep you guys waiting, so we'll have to host her another time. But we had a great idea. The society sells these books. We encourage you, after I'm done reading, once the cottage opens up, there's all kinds of great books of the work that Edgar Allan Poe actually wrote here in Fordham. So I'll be reading some of those as part of the closing segment. Also, a reminder, at 1:30, we'll be convening in the Poe Park Visitor Center for some poetry workshops. We encourage you to hang out and participate. There's a sign-up sheet for the Bronx Council on the Arts mailing list. If you're from the Bronx, or you're visiting or come through the Bronx and want to know more about future arts and culture events, I recommend that you sign up. Find me at 1:30. I'll set you up to make sure that we stay in touch with you, so that you get future news about all the great stuff that we're doing. So I'll be reading from Poems and Tales of Edgar Allan Poe at Fordham, okay? The first one is called Deep in Earth. Deep in earth, my love is lying, and I must weep alone. To MLS. Of all who hail thy presence as the morning, of all to whom thine absence is the night, the blotting utterly from out high heaven, the sacred sun, of all who weeping bless thee, hourly for hope, for life, above all, for the resurrection of deep buried faith in truth, in virtue, in humanity. Of all who on despair's unhallowed bed, lying down to lie, have suddenly arisen at thy soft murmured words, let there be light. At the soft murmured words that were fulfilled in the seraphic glancing of thine eyes. Of all who owe thee most, whose gratitude nearest resembles worship, oh, remember the truest, the most fervently devoted, and think that those weak lines are written by him who, as he pens them, thrills to think his spirit is communing with an angel's. Ulalume, a ballad. The skies, they were ashen and sober, the leaves, they were crisped and sere. The leaves, they were withering and sere. It was night in the lonesome October of my most immemorial year. It was hard by the dim lake of Auber, in the misty mid-region of Weir. It was down by the dank tarn of Auber, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. Here once, through an alley titanic of cypress, I roamed with my soul of cypress, with Psyche, my soul. There were days when my heart was volcanic, as the scoriac rivers that roll, as the lavas that relentlessly roll. Their sulphurous currents down Yannick, in the ultimate climbs of the pole, that groan as they roll down Mount Yannick in the realms of the boreal pole. Our talk had been serious and sober, but our thoughts, they were palsied and seared. our memories were treacherous and sear. For we know not the month was October, as we marked not the night of the year, our night of all nights in the year. We noted not the dim lake of Albert, though once we had journeyed down there. We remembered not the dank tarn of Albert, nor the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. And now as the night was senescent, and star dials pointed to morn, as the star dials hinted of morn, at the end of our path a liquescent and nebulous luster was born, out of which a miraculous crescent arose with a duplicate horn, a Astartes be-diamond crescent, distinct with its duplicate horn. And I said, she is warmer than dying, she rolls through an ether of sighs, she revels in a region of sighs. She has seen that the tears are not dry, on these cheeks where the warm never dies, and has come past the stars of the lion to point us to the path to the skies, to the Lethean peace of the skies, come up in despite of the lion to shine on us with come up through the lair of the lion with love in her luminous eyes. But Psyche, uplifting her finger, said sadly, this star I mistrust, her pallor I strangely mistrust. Ah, hasten, ah, let us not linger, ah, fly, let us fly, for we must. In terror she spoke, letting sink her wings till they trailed in the dust. In agony sobbed, letting sink her plumes till they trailed in the dust, till they sorrowfully trailed in the dust. I replied, this is nothing but dreaming, let us on by this tremulous light, let us bathe in the crystalline light. Its Sibyllic splendor is beaming with hope and in beauty tonight, with hope and in beauty tonight. See, it flickers up the sky through the night, and we safely may trust to its gleaming, and be sure it will lead us aright. We safely may trust to a gleaming that cannot but guide us aright, since it flickers up to heaven through the night. Thus I pacified Psyche and kissed her, and tempted her up with her gloom, and conquered her scruples and gloom, and we passed to the end of the vista, but were stopped by the door of a tomb, by the door of a legended tomb. And I said, what is written, sweet sister, on the door of this legended tomb? She replied, Ulaluum, Ulaluum, 'tis the vault of thy lost Ulalu. Then my heart is grew ashen and sober, as the leaves that were crisped and sere, as the leaves that were withering and sere, and I cried it was surely October, on this very night of last year, that I journeyed down here, that I brought a dread burden down here, on this night of all nights in the year. Oh, what a demon has tempted me here. Well, I know now this dim lake of Alber, this misty mid-region of Weir. Well, I know now this dank tarn of Alber, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir. We'll go to an enigma. Seldom we find, says Solomon Don Dunce, half an idea in the profoundest sonnet. Through all the flimsy things we see at once, as easily as through a Naples bonnet. Trash of all trash, how can a lady don it? Yet heavier far than your Petrarchan stuff, owl downy nonsense that the faintest puff twirls into truncating the while you con it, and veritably soul is right enough. The general topomanities are errant, bubbles ephemeral and so transparent. But this is, now, you may depend upon it, stable, opaque, immortal, all by dint of the dear names that lie concealed within it. And we'll read one more, because I know we have a special guest speaker here. We'll close things off for the moment with El Dorado, and then we'll be reconvening after some special announcements at the Poe Park Visitor Center at 1:30. gaily bedight to gallant night in sunshine and in shadow, had journeyed long, singing a song in search of El Dorado. But he grew old, this knight so bold, and o'er his heart a shadow fell as he found no spot of ground that looked like El Dorado. And as his strength failed him at length, he met a pilgrim shadow. Shadow, said he, where can it be, this land of El Dorado? Over the mountains of the moon, down the valley of the shadow, ride boldly, ride, the shade replied, if you seek for El Dorado. Thank you all so much for listening. I'm going to hand the mic over to Angel Hernandez, and we'll see you at 1:30 in the Poe Park Visitor Center, so please hang out.
Thank you, Charlie. One more round of applause for my friend Charlie here. Thank you, thank you. So before I close the program, I just want to introduce one of my friends, and him and I, we had a nice conversation a couple of years back about doing something like this at the Edgar Allan Poe Cottage, having these type of readings. So hopefully this will be a success, and we'll go into 2017 with more public programming at Poe Park. So let me introduce to you our City Councilman, Richie Torres, who represents this district in the Bronx. Richie, please come up. Richie's going to say a couple of words before we close out. Once we're done, the house will be open for tours, for free tours until 2 o'clock. So please, if you want to look at the house, go inside. There's a gift shop as well, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you, Richie, for coming.
It's an honor to be here. No one came here to hear politicians speak, so I'll speak briefly. But obviously, Poe Park is one of the hidden treasures of our borough, and it's fitting that we're conducting poetry readings outside the home of one of America's greatest artists. But art is not only part of the legacy of Edgar Allan Poe, it's part of the historic legacy of the Bronx. And I want to thank everything that the Bronx Historical Society has done to tell the story of the Bronx, because the history of this borough is too complex, it's too rich to be reduced to a stereotype. When people say the Bronx is burning, I say it's burning with creative genius, because even in our darkest moments, even when we saw arson and abandonment, out of those moments came creative genius that inspired artistic forms like hip-hop. And so we in the Bronx know how to create and recreate, we know how to build and rebuild in the face of physical destruction. It's in our DNA, and I think today's poetry reading is a testament and a celebration of the creative spirit of the Bronx. So I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to thank the Historical Society for conducting these poetry readings. Thank you.
So as soon as I'm ready, we open these two doors. Whoever wants to walk through the house, you are free to take photographs. Just make sure you get my right side. And I hope you enjoy the tour. So thank you everyone for coming. And as Charlie has mentioned, our workshop will start at 1:30. I want to thank the Bronx Council of the Arts for partnering with the Bronx Council, the Bronx Historical Society on this event. Councilman Richie Torres, thanks for coming. And everyone here who partook in this great event. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. Enjoy your weekend, your holiday, Halloween, and the other groups.